Good day, everyone. My name is Dave, partner. Have you ever wondered what it would take you to learn web development and become a full stack web developer from scratch? That is, from knowing nothing at all in the beginning to becoming a full-time professional. Now, I've been writing code for more than 9 years right now, and I'm a full stack developer. I can build mobile apps, web apps, and PC apps. So, the thing I'm going to the guide I'm going to give you in this video is you should probably take it serious and coming from a professional, and I'll tell you when you should apply discretion. All right, so at the end of this video you should have a general overview of where you are going to, where you are currently, and how to eventually kick off your career in web development. So first of all, everybody that needs to learn web development needs to know HTML. So you should learn HTML, and it will take you at least 3 days to learn HTML. And if you can always get the tutorials from my YouTube channel. Here is the YouTube channel. So all you have to do is get to my YouTube channel. Just search for Brain Temple Tutorial TV on YouTube, or just visit this URL directly, youtube.com/c/braintemp.org. I've had tutorials in almost all these fields that I'm showing you, almost all these things I itemized here. So for each of them, just go there on Brain Temple Tutorial TV and search. Click on the search icon and search for HTML and hit enter. It will show you the HTML tutorial course. As you can see, I have HTML mobile application development course. So you take it, and before you know it, you'll be good with HTML. So once you learn HTML, it means you've started well, you've learned the basics, and I estimate that if you do a crash course on it, it will take you 3 days. So all the time estimations here are for crash courses, not like in-depth development. You just want to learn it so you can move on to the next thing. That is a crash course. You understand? Get the basics, move on. All right. And it doesn't include the time it will take you to build a project on it. So you might learn HTML in 3 days, but when you want to build a project, actually it might take you 2 weeks. Okay, so I didn't include the time it will take you to execute a project in these. So this is the time to complete a crash course on it. All right, so we have HTML. You've learned it 3 days. In the same week, you can kick off CSS, which will take you 5 days. Then CSS has some nice new flavors called Sass and Less. They help you to write CSS more intelligently. So each of these will take you 3 days. So this will take you 5 days to grab by my estimation, and each of these will take you 3 days. I've trained lots of students, so I know what I'm telling you. I've been able to put people through this crash course, and they're doing well. You understand? So you have after learning CSS, CSS helps you to beautify your website. So HTML helps you to design the website, but then it needs to be beautiful and consistent across pages. So in CSS, you style it. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet. It helps you to style the website so that it will look neat, really beautiful. So, and I've done a CSS tutorial, as you can see. If you come and search for my CSS tutorial, you see that there are 10 courses on it, and you take the CSS tutorial and you become very good in CSS. Now, for Sass and Less, you have to Google it. I've not done tutorials on this too as of the time of making this video. Google it and find more, alright? But these are not necessary, really. If you learn your HTML and CSS, you are good to go. And the next thing you need to learn is a framework on CSS called Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a CSS framework, and it's the most popular CSS framework in the world. What it does is that somebody looked at CSS and said, this thing takes too much time to write. You understand? Can we make it easier? So they wrote custom codes for you, how to color your button, how to color your navigation bar, how to do this and that, how to make a drop down. They have written all those. So now the codes have been written for you. They've written it so that you don't have to write CSS again when you're designing a website. So you basically write HTML, you call the Bootstrap classes inside of HTML, and your website becomes beautiful. You understand? Apart from Bootstrap, some other people did it called Foundation. They are very popular. So if you're not using Bootstrap, you should be using Foundation, alright? And then there are so many of them. There are more than 100 types of these kind of frameworks. So Bootstrap is basically built with CSS, HTML, and something called JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language, but actually it's a scripting language, which means it basically runs on your browser, and it doesn't need to be compiled to run. Okay, so they use JavaScript. They combine JavaScript, CSS, and HTML to build Bootstrap. So to build a website, you just have HTML, call Bootstrap classes, and your website becomes beautiful. So after learning your CSS, Bootstrap is what you have to learn. After learning Bootstrap, you learn JavaScript. JavaScript is a programming language, like I told you. You have to actually write codes. So in JavaScript, it will teach you the basic structures of programming language, which is if, else statements, and all the control structures, kind of an introduction to programming language for you. I have a tutorial on JavaScript. So if you go to my channel and search for JavaScript, it will show you the tutorial on JavaScript. You can take the course. It's 29 courses at this moment. Take it and get a good grip on JavaScript. Now, you're basically looking for the JavaScript playlist. I know some videos can show up here, but what we're looking for is a playlist. So if you click on playlist and search my playlists, you will see a JavaScript playlist. Okay, and don't forget to subscribe if you're on this channel. So the next thing we're looking at is JavaScript has so many frameworks. So some people looked at JavaScript and was like, this thing takes too much time to write. Can we make it easier? So they wrote all the custom codes you will need to write in your JavaScript, how to call classes and a whole lot of things. So somebody wrote it and called it jQuery. jQuery became the most popular JavaScript framework in the world, and it started, people can use it to write JavaScript more efficiently and effectively and faster. Okay, so after you've got your grip around JavaScript, you should learn jQuery. jQuery should take you like 3 days. I learned it in 1 day. Once you get the concept, you are good with it. All right. So some people looked at JavaScript again and decided to build a more robust and more powerful framework with it and called it Angular. That is Google. Google owns Angular, and Angular is fast becoming famous and being used by so many people around the world. So jQuery, you can basically do basic JavaScript functions and hack your way around it. But in Angular is a full web framework or mobile application development framework where JavaScript is being used. So they're not really on the same level in terms of comparison. Angular is a full framework. jQuery is like a hack of JavaScript. Okay, and then some other people looked at JavaScript and built React from it. They are called Facebook. So Facebook owns React, and React helps you to do the same thing Angular helps you to do. And there are other people that have done so many other things like Ember.js and Backbone.js. These are on the levels of jQuery, and they have done the same thing, looked at JavaScript and written their own hack of JavaScript. All right. So if you're on a crash course, you should just take JavaScript. Once you get a grip around JavaScript, learn jQuery in 3 days and move on. All right. Depending on which direction, this is where the direction changes. So if you want to learn how to design websites with JavaScript, you can just continue going horizontally. If you want to learn how to do it with PHP, continue going vertically down. You understand? So after JavaScript, once you learn jQuery, you should move to PHP if you want to learn how to build websites with PHP. I often recommend that people should learn how to build websites with PHP because PHP is the most popular language to build websites with in the world, and it will always guarantee you job positions. All right. Afterwards, you can just come back and learn Angular, React, or any other one. You understand? Okay, so if you learn PHP, PHP is a full programming language, which is another scripting language like JavaScript. So it should take basically 1 month or less. It should take you less because in programming, once you learn something that is similar to another thing, that other one should take you less time. So JavaScript is very, very, very similar to PHP. So it should take you, if it took you 1 month to learn JavaScript, PHP will probably take you like 2 weeks or less. You understand? So after learning PHP, some people looked at PHP and be like, wow, this thing takes too much time to write. So they built a framework around it and called it Cake PHP. And some other people built Laravel. Some other people built Raw PHP. Raw PHP is like the combination of Cake PHP and Laravel so that you can write codes that are really effective. So if you're learning Raw PHP, you are just basically grabbing Cake PHP and Laravel. And it's lighter than both, very, very efficient. And then there's CodeIgniter too. CodeIgniter does the same thing. So they are all PHP frameworks, all the custom things you need to do when you're building your website. These people have built it for you. So you basically call classes and you're good to go. All right. So now we have this. I want to quickly make reference to all these things I wrote here. Some other people looked at this building mobile applications and decided to use JavaScript, CSS, and the Bootstrap-like framework to build mobile applications. So one of them is Framework 7. Framework 7 uses jQuery, a front end like Bootstrap, that is Framework 7 front end, and then they used CSS and HTML to build Framework 7. If you learn Framework 7, you should be able to build mobile apps with it. I've done tutorials on Framework 7, and as usual, come to my channel Brain Temple Tutorial TV and search for Framework 7 tutorial, and you should be able to build mobile apps if you have arrived at this stage. Then Ionic is another group of 2 people that decided to build using Angular as their back end. Then they have their own front end that looks like Bootstrap, which is the main Ionic itself, and then they have CSS and HTML. Then Facebook decided to build theirs with React. They call it React.js. So there are many other ones that built with many other things, okay, that you can always check out. So the difficulty increases as you go this way. From Framework 7 is quite easy. Then you have Ionic, then you have React, but then their power seems to be going the other way. You understand? Most efficient, more efficient, and so on like that. Alright, depending on which one you want to take, eventually you end up with a mobile app that works for you. So any one of them that works for you is perfectly okay. Alright, you can Google to find more. And now you've learned PHP, you should learn a PHP framework. This is the most powerful PHP framework from my experience, because I actually code 3 of this, and this is the most well documented, and this is the most popular. So if you're looking for a job, you take the most popular. If you're looking for speed to be able to build your website fast, Cake PHP is incredibly fast. Then if you're looking to build a software that other developers can join you in the tomorrow, or a software team that can expand, you use raw PHP, because you can write Laravel and Cake PHP code inside raw PHP depending on which of them you choose. Alright, so if you already know Laravel or Cake, raw PHP should be quite easy for you to grab, because there's nothing really to learn again inside there. So after learning this, in fact, while you're learning this, you need to learn your database too. So you should learn something called SQL. Take a course on SQL. Structured Query Language is the language that relational databases use. SQL should take you between 3 days to 2 weeks to master. You understand? I learned it in three days. Although eventually, while building a project in it, you start discovering some things you didn't learn along the way that you have to go back and make reference to. But in 3 days, you should get a good grip on SQL and be able to work with any of these frameworks, because they are tightly connected to SQL. Because your website basically needs a backend. Your website needs a database to function. So SQL is a language for a database. Now there are flavors of this language. You have MySQL, MariaDB, you have Postgres. You have MySQL and MariaDB. When Oracle bought MySQL, some people decided to clone it and build MariaDB. So they're basically the same thing in a way. And then there's Postgres, and then there is NoSQL. NoSQL is a non-relational database. This kind of database doesn't make use of MySQL, and there are many of them. I just mentioned the 2 most popular ones, where you have Firebase and MongoDB. These guys are the 2 most popular ones. Google owns Firebase, and Firebase is a suite. So more than just a database, Firebase has other tools you can use to build your application. Alright, and then these guys work with JavaScript more like. So if you're going to be working with JavaScript, if you're not working with PHP, if you're going to be building websites or applications with JavaScript, the database you should basically be using will end up being most likely either of these. To use MySQL databases, you will need to build something called a microservice platform using PHP or Python or some other ones. So in this, if you are going to learn Python instead of PHP, this is where you branch into Python. So if you come here in Python, you have Python, then you have Flask, you have Django. Those are Python frameworks. So instead of learning PHP, once you finish learning JavaScript, you should move to Python. Then you learn something called Flask, or you learn another framework called Django. And there are a whole lot of other Python frameworks. There is CherryPy and so on and so forth. But then here it stays the same. You'll still have to learn MySQL or Postgres or any of them. So thank you very much. I hope you've come to this point, and if you add all this time, you will get a clean view of how long it will take you to learn these things. Alright, I hope you've come to the point that you get a general overview of where you are currently in the whole 3 and how you can move ahead. Remember, you can always check my channel and get video tutorials on any of them, and you can always chat me up to ask for video tutorials, and under any of my videos you can just comment, or you can just email me if you want me to join your team. I do join remote teams and work with them, or I can even move over to the country and work with them. So I hope this helps you and sort out your your web design problem. So thank you very much. See you in further subsequent